make it so hard for others to serve God in church. Now hear this. Every hospital does not decide what kind of diseases come there. Whether it is HIV, COVID-19, hypertension, hepatitis B and C and K. The hospitals don't decide what comes there. Whether it is diarrhea, the hospitals don't decide. As long as a patient enters the hospital, they have to be treated. Doctors don't say, this one, I don't want to touch it. At best, they recommend you to a specialist. Church is God's hospital. Somebody came here with diarrhea of the mouth. If you make a mistake and let the person hear something, by the time he's entering here, the mouth is doing this. That is his problem. Gossip, diarrhea of the mouth. We thank God they came. Somebody came here, and then when you looked at them, they were wearing a hot pant and tube top. So you said they were indecent. So you tried to push them out of the church. Please, let them be. Something happened in London, and then somebody said to me, but Pastor, this girl dressed this way will confuse the man. And I said, if any man in this church can get confused by the indecent dressing, it's not the girl that needs the deliverance, it's the man that needs the deliverance. I'm not encouraging indecent dressing. I'm saying that by the time somebody misses the point that what they are wearing is not decent, and they still walk into church with it, you need to allow them to sit and encounter God, so that the next time they come, the encounter they got here will inform what they look like next time. You don't play holier than thou, drive them out of God's house, and then they don't come again. How have you healed the situation? How have you helped the situation? I need somebody to learn to be a son, a daughter of God when you come into God's house, so God can help you, not play God in church. No wonder you still can't get help. This place is so God can meet me. Whenever you meet God, your life necessarily must change. Whenever you encounter God. Now let's round up on that note. When I agree that coming to church gives me an encounter with God, then I need to understand what it means to encounter God. Jacob put it in one summation. And the Lord was here, and I knew it not. If people understood what they miss out in church every week, if people understood what happens in church every week, they would have been exclaiming, oh God, all these years I have missed out on what would have changed my life. All these years I have missed out on what God would have given to me. If only I understood that church is a face-to-face encounter with God. If only I understood that church is an open door into God's bedchamber. If only I understood that church is the one place everything I needed in life is given to me without question, I would always be running to the place. If I understood church is the one place I go in sick, walk out healed. Go in sinner, walk out saint. Go in down, walk up out. I would have always been looking for an opportunity to be there. I would have been looking for an opportunity to serve there. I would have been looking for an opportunity to work there. Now, when you go to companies, there is something interesting. You enter the place, you meet the receptionist, you do what you have to do, but when you try to go to the back office, it's put there, staff only. Why it's put there staff only is is because except you are a worker in that company, you don't get the privilege to see how the operation works. You are only given what has been done. If I go to Frida's bank and I tell her, Frida, I'm prophet, let's go to the vault, she will look at me and say, Papa, Esrel. The reason is because there is no way she can take me to the vault. Because if she makes a mistake and take me there, it will sack both of us. But the reason is because I am not a staff. I don't have the pass to go into the vault. But the day I become a staff, bank manager 1, I get vault keys. I get to understand the operations of the place. I get to understand how they approve a loan. I get to understand how they take your money and use it to profit the bank. I get to understand all of it. And the only reason why they will give me preview information like that is because I become a staff. Can you imagine just walking into church makes you qualify for everything? Now find out what it means if you work in church. Now, you get access to God's operation. You get access to how he gets the lights to come up. So as soon as the lights come up, then I begin to realize that the dark days in my life, God set up some light. I get to understand how the praises go on. Then I find out how God's operation releases the difficult, sorrowful days of my life. But until I position myself, you find people who come into church and working in churches for the low class people. If you understood it, you will be fighting for it. Staff only is what it means when you work in church. In other words, there is something somebody sitting in the chair will never get. Staff will get. There is a privilege in the presence of God. Somebody sitting down and has never swept the floor, cleaned the chair, joined the choir, joined the ushers, joined the instrumentalist, done something for God, will never get. But the staff, God gives to them. Why? Because they work in his house. When I remember what the Lord has done, I will never go back anymore, is what a songwriter does. But the problem is not when you remember what the Lord has done. It should be when I find out what it means for the Lord to do something in my life. I will never leave the church. I will never leave his presence. Wherever you are tonight, on social media, in-house here, I need you to tell yourself, I would make sure every day I go through the doors of church, every day I have to be in church. It's a season I get an opportunity to encounter God. It's a time I am given, I am afforded the privilege to be in the presence of El Elyon. And if at all I am allowed to work for him, I get a star pass to understand the operations of God. Stand to your feet. I can't keep coming to church and remain the same. I can't keep sitting in church and remain the same. There must be something wrong with me. Can you imagine giving a blank check 3 times a week and you don't understand or know what to write on it? Church gives you access to God's reserve. And yet, this is what you find out. People come here and then they are always, kaya, 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 kaya. We bind, we bind, we bind. Honey, if you got the first clue about why you come here, the first day you bind, you are good. But still, since you don't understand, you are binding what you should have finished long time ago. Lift up your hands wherever you are. My God. I want somebody to take a minute and look into your life. All the weeks you have been to church and missed out on what you could have taken. All the weeks, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, when we're doing the program, Sunday to Sunday. Can you imagine how people were excited during the lockdown that they don't have to be in church? That tells you you don't understand what it means. Because if you knew what it means, you would have figured out a way to get there. Somebody can't even go online just to sit and watch church for 1 hour. But when they sit behind that Nollywood movie, if by mistake they get Netflix and there is data running, the way they can watch the entire season in one day. The way they can sit behind the season and go through the entire season, binge watch one day, yet they can't be online for church for an hour or two. How little we have understood about this God. How little we have known about God. Haven't you realized that people never look at their watch when they are at parties? In fact, the later the better. When you try to leave around 10:30, 11, they are telling you, but the party is now about to start. Try dragging service to 11 and 12 and see. Pastor Ochapa. And that's one sham comes to Socha and Oche. At least Oshem Kompa and Kahaya Shikakra. So at least think can come show ma. At least think you bet just so. Audition come. At least and the preachers are so good. Ya bompire saya mompire reader. How little we have understood this God. When you see how people react to God, to church, that's how you know, do they really understand what they missed? Picture it this way. They did a party in your honor, brought the head of state to meet you. Would you miss your party? And yet, on Wednesdays, the King of Kings come to meet you. You are not there. On Friday, God comes to meet you. You are not there. On Sunday, God shows up and you are late. Your excuse is traffic. Your excuse is what? Emergency came at home. If they told you president was outside, would you have emergency? The emergency will get its own emergency and wait. And you will still go. But when people have to go and see God, when people have to go and encounter God, when people have to work in the house of God, isn't it interesting that somebody can just decide that he has gotten, they have given them a promotion that requires them to work and miss an encounter with God, and they choose that over God. Because if you understood what he can do for you, if you believed what he can do for you, there wouldn't be any dispute, there wouldn't be any argument.